introductions, and I know that our recovery panel's heading on up. Come on up, y'all.
Oh, you're all here. Okay, good. I just said, yay!
Come on, Valentina. Come on, Valentina. Where's Chris at? Michael. Let's give an applause to our peers. You know, I'm going to quote one of the godmother of recovery. Her name is Tanya Wheeler out here in the audience. And recently, Tanya said, they keep saying lived experience. And boy, she brought it on the house floor that day when she said, it's not lived experience, it's living experience, as in currently happening. And so I just want to bring that up, Ms. Tanya Wheeler, Ms. Godmother of Recovery, because that's what you are. You are living an experience. We are living an experience, and just grateful that you guys are allowing me to moderate today. Let's start off with maybe a little introduction. Who you are. I know I'm switching it up on y'all, right? I know. I said I wasn't going to do this to you. Maybe just a little bit about yourselves, like where you're from, community. Yeah, let's start there.
My name is Michael Cisneros. I'm from Alamosa, Colorado. I'm a peer specialist in that region. And
thanks, Michael.
I'm Chris Payne. I'm actually new to the San Luis Valley within the past 3 years. Right before that, I lived in Lamar, Colorado for 10 years. And then before that, I'm actually from the Midwest originally. And now I am a peer support specialist and a intensive case manager working with Center for Restorative Programs in the Valley.
Hi, my name is Valentina. I am a human who is living in long-term sustained recovery. What that means to me is I haven't had to use drugs or alcohol since April 10th, 2018. I was born and raised in Denver, Colorado, and then here this November I will be in Montrose for 4 years.
Thanks, y'all. All right, for our Living Experience Council, I have a couple questions. We'll just go down the line. First question, let's start with Michael. Michael, what was your largest obstacle to recovery?
my largest obstacle, I guess, would probably be that it was hard to find support, hard to find just help to deal with what was going on in my life.
It was me. As cliche as that sounds, it was me. I used drugs initially because I wanted to. I wanted that experience. I had never done anything like that. I had heard that it was amazing. I tried to do cocaine first. My friend had already done cocaine and he didn't want to. Unfortunately, I went to heroin. But I've been clean now since January 22nd of 2020.
My largest obstacle to recovery was that I didn't know that I had a substance use disorder. I grew up in a family where it's normal. I am Hispanic. Everything is centered around drinking and smoking weed. It was the normal thing to do. I didn't know that it was not normal. So I didn't know that I needed help. I have this illness of self-deception, isolation, and dis-ease. And I didn't know any of these things. So I didn't know that I needed help. I didn't know where to find help. I am fortunate that my dad is also in recovery and helped guided me to find recovery.
Awesome. So I was going to say catalyst, or what was the moment? Like what all of a sudden made you go from living one lifestyle to thinking that maybe this lifestyle should be different? What was that change? What was that catalyst?
For me, it was constantly going to jail, but the last time I went, I had a family and I was just done with it. I mean, I'd done probably like 14 years in jail and wasted my life and wasted my time. And I've lost time with my children, my family, you know, and I was done.
I had gotten in trouble one time with drugs, and it was a pretty serious charge. It was a felony. And I actually pled to a lesser felony. But that was the one time, and honestly, that scared the shit out of me. Sorry. But I did not want to stay in jail, and I had a lot of things on the outside that I was very proud of that I had to get rid of completely before I could continue on my progress.
I was married. Me and my wife used together. Towards the end of my addiction, I used a drug that we did not use together. That led to suicidal thoughts. I am a person that never had suicidal thoughts. I was a caretaker at the time, so I did not know how to talk about suicide. So I kept it to myself of how I wanted to kill myself. And I also used so that I wouldn't kill myself, but I was using suicidally. And so there was an event that happened. Selena's birthday's on the 7th, and we got in this big, huge fight, so I decided to go on this 3-day bender. And in that 3-day bender, I had a friend that is in recovery that had reached out to me, asked how I was doing. I lied to her about an hour out of our 2-hour conversation. She made it a safe place for me to admit that I've been thinking about suicide for the last 3 weeks to a month. And she said that I was worthy and deserving of this life, and that she would get me help, and gave me a number to somebody in a pathway of recovery.
What I love about that is that peer piece, right? Like, it took someone who'd been with it, walked with me, like someone who could be there. I had the same story, you know. I didn't have anybody who looked like me or talked like me in my community, and this one woman had just like, I was like, what was that? Like, and she said, I can maybe help you, right? But she'd been there. So I think that I love that. It's just such a difference. Thanks for that. So how have you transformed your pain into power? What has that been like for you?
It's been really rewarding. I knew that I wanted to do something, since childhood, I wanted to do something that helped others. Using and being in addiction and getting out of it then gave me a clear sight as to what I wanted to do and further my education in that. And all of the pain that I had to get rid of in a way so that I could help the people that I'm helping. And now the pain I have, I see on them, and it just makes me want to help even more. And harder and faster.
Living in recovery, pain doesn't ever go away. I still experience pain. In 2020, February 2020, there was 5 people found dead in a Commerce City apartment. My wife, this was a week after I got divorced from my wife because I chose recovery and she didn't. And she found her little brother, his girlfriend, her sister who survived, her boyfriend who died, and 2 other females dead. And in recovery, that was a big amount of pain. Selena was my reservation. If she died, I was going to use. That was the biggest and hardest thing for me. But thankfully, right, I have this amazing connection to this recovery community. I just started working for Advocates for Recovery. And my first thought wasn't to use. My first thought was to call somebody in recovery and say, hey, this is what happened. And then I called another person, and then I called another person, and so on and so on. What that does and teaches me is it keeps me accountable. And so for that first week of pain, of just not wanting to be here, and I wanted to be, because I tried so hard to kill myself, right? And these people didn't have a choice in their death. They were poisoned, they were murdered. I wouldn't have been able to survive that if it wasn't for the amazing people that I work with and all the amazing people that I met in all pathways of recoveries that I had went to. And so to turn that into power, right, I get to be the voice for the unvoiced, and I get to honor their lives and honor my life by staying clean and to help other people find recovery and say, hey, like, you could still do life no matter what, and you don't have to use over it. And this is how we're going to walk this journey together.
What was the question again?
Yeah, it's been a minute, huh? How have you transformed the pain into power? Or how do you continue to? Because I'm with you on that, it doesn't go away.
Well, for me, it's a lot like what Chris said, I guess. For the longest part of my life, I sold drugs, and I was a big part of the problem. And, you know, I've seen what I did to people and stuff, and as I got into recovery myself, it changed my life and changed my outlook on how I was living. So I wanted to, you know, flip that and try and help others that were in the same situation that I was in, and also to kind of redeem myself, I guess, and just let people know that there's hope.
All right, so we're going to shift gears a little bit. When talking about peer support, what is working well in your community?
I'm going to go back to partnerships and collaboration. I'm sure you guys have heard me say it at least a couple times. With our partners and our collaborations with those partners, one of our first things we say is peer support. It's really important. But we have those partnerships, and they are willing to and ready and excited to use us in the Valley. I mean, there's so much excitement about it. Like you, I'm just so excited about it. But there's so much excitement about peers in the Valley that's what works. That's what works.
You preach to the choir over here. Y'all gonna get tired of me in a few years. Yeah, that's great. Okay, who's taking the next one?
Well, just kind of what he said, you know, the peer thing is really good, and just collaborating with every other organization that's trying to help people out there and trying to support them in their recovery process. I mean, we got to work together in order to make this happen. It's not just a one person thing. It's just not a one organization thing. It's a community thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's surreal to be here today because in active use, I wouldn't be here, sitting here talking to all of you guys or being a part of this big movement. And when I first started this job, just being connected to the community and all of the providers, the clinicians, and everyone that I was afraid to talk to in active addiction, to be a part of that and to have them support. Back in July in Delta, I did a recovery walk, and a lot of people came and supported that, and I thought that was really amazing. From, you know, Mindy, the police coordinator outreach, Lyndall, they've been so amazing to just take me under the wing and help guide to connect with everybody. And it's cool to be going to places and people know me for like a good reason, right? So I'm like, this is good. They don't know who I was in active use. And so I get an opportunity to do all recovery social events in Delta and the Montrose community. So I get to provide these safe places, and all of these people help by handing out my flyers and say, hey, come check out this social recovery event or all these recovery meetings, or, you know, check out Valentina, maybe she could help you out. And I get so many people that, you know, I get to be a peer, and I think that's awesome because I'm not above you, I'm not below you, I'm just as equal as you, and I have lived experience, I understand, and I can empathize where you come from, and that makes my job like liberating, and it makes me excited to come to work, right?
Yeah, I think for me too, I was thinking about peer, like it's been really neat this year to grow in relationship, like advocates for recovery, and like going to you and seeing everybody, and then, you know, seeing you again, Valentina, and then when we are in these spaces, and these are weird spaces for us, we get to see each other, and it's like this whole Me Too movement, right? We're like, hey girl, hey you, you know, and it feels good, you know, to connect with one another, and when you're doing this work across regional lines, you know, when it's nice to have somebody on this side doing the work that I can connect with, because peers need each other. I think that is something that we're missing. We need each other because we're still recovering. I've been at this 13 and a half years. I'm gonna be very frank, treatment does nothing for me today. Nothing for me today in my recovery. Community and peers and connection keep me sober today. That's why this is so important. We need each other to thrive. We need each other because we'll be honest with each other. And I had a great conversation with a couple peers in a private room where we can really be honest about how things are looking in our areas, and not feel intimidated by everybody else in the room with titles, to be honest, right? And it feels good. So I'm grateful for you because Valentina, you've been one of those this year. Boys, welcome to the club. But you're honorary, but Valentina's been somebody that's been nice. Our whole team, like, we light up when we see you. It's been great to have you in our community.
The first time I met you was at the state capitol when we were being a part of this big movement of shutting down the bills that we didn't want to be passed. So I am really happy to be an advocate and a voice for, things that we believe in, stand for, because we're on the other side, and I think that's great. So I enjoy seeing you every time too. You put a smile on my face.
Yeah, ditto, girl, ditto. When talking, well, what makes you feel valued? What makes you feel valued in your role as a peer?
I'll go first. So recently, I had a participant that kind of went MIA. I didn't know where he went, and I found out that he was in jail, and I wrote him in jail. And to hear his feedback of saying, hey, I appreciate you for, writing me in jail. I feel valued. Like, I felt like, oh man, this right now his response to me makes my job worth it, right? And I get to start recovery groups and like ATC, and to hear some of them people text me back like, hey, I really enjoyed you coming today. Thank you for helping me be a part of the movement of being the better version of myself. Those are the moments that makes me feel valued, and that what I'm doing here is right, and it feels good to be a part of that.
Thanks, Valentina. All right, Michael.
An instance for me, I guess, would be, a lot of times we help the person if they overdose or whatever. We help them in that moment, but we don't continue on to give them treatment or, go with them on this journey of sobriety and recovery. So this guy, he was in detox, and he really wanted help, but nobody didn't seem like anybody wanted to help him. So I kind of advocated for him and helped him to find a rehab facility that he could go to right after getting out of detox. And it made me feel good, and I felt valued to help this guy, to not just send him back to the wolves, basically, because that's what he was going to do. If he got out of detox 3 days, he's just going to go back to using again. But he wanted to help, and I wanted to help him. So I helped him get into rehab, and it made me happy to know that hopefully he's still there.
I work with CRP, so I do intensive case management for them. And I've actually been doing a lot more peer work with them, thankfully. And one of my peers, she does not use drugs. She has never used drugs. She does not use alcohol. She never has. But she needs that person, that peer. And I get from her constantly, if it wasn't for you, I would not even be part of this program. If it wasn't for you, I would move. And she's about to lose her house anyway, but we're working on it. But she said, if it wasn't for you, all these things would happen. And that makes me feel valued in the work I'm doing. And then in the professional sense, I was the first one at my job to be hired on as a peer. They wanted one. They didn't know anything about peers. They didn't know anything. So that was we've been growing together. And when something comes up, I'm always getting, what do you want to do? How do you want to work this? How do you want this to happen? She listens, they listen. And whether it's professional or peer or other peers, the listening is just huge, because my life, my stepdad didn't really listen to me. So when people listen, that's incredible.
So being heard is important.
Being heard,
right?
and then acting on what I said.
Yeah.
Or
not
at least
just
compromising.
Yeah. I also hear this theme of like a mutually transformative relationship. We like to use at Hard Duty. Like, there's nothing like being changed in that way. Obviously, holding our ethical lines, right? Because if you've taken training, we know our ethical lines, right? But like, we get to be transformed in those moments, and that connection actually kept me sober. One time I went back to my husband when I got sober, was in use for 8.5 years. while I stayed in recovery. And if I didn't have connection, and if I didn't have that, I literally, in service, like I just went and served everybody. That little girl who sang that song, she just kept doing it over and over and over again. And what I did is never picked up, because community, not treatment, because of y'all, right? I didn't pick up. And so I love that. And it's transformative. It is transformative to do this work. What, if any, challenges have you faced as a peer professional?
PDs, working with PDs. A lot of the time working with PD, you have to have a you have to have a background check. Unfortunately, some of those smaller rural PDs will say, no, you can't come in. And I am unfortunately not allowed into one of the PDs in our valley, but I do have great support behind me trying to break that one's wall down so that I can be allowed in, because we do have warm handoffs that have to be done at the PD. So that's what we're kind
of. For me, I think it would probably be grants. My grant ended in June 30th. So I had all these clients that, were counting on me, that depended on me. And then for like the past two and a half months, there hasn't been no grant. So I have no affiliation with these people at the moment. So I feel like they might feel that, hey man, I just left them hanging, and that's not the case. But I think that maybe the grant thing needs to be a little better.
I think there's always going to be challenges, and I'm thankful that being in recovery, we don't have to face the challenges alone. Some of the challenges I face is that some of the participants I get, there's a lot of stigma in the courtrooms. We're judged off a piece of paper of what we did in active addiction, and then also being in a rural area, I do recovery outside of work, right? So there's the dual, I see some of my participants in some of my in-person meetings, and so that could be difficult at times as well. And also, in the small rural areas, you see people do intakes with me, but since it's a small town, it's so easy just to go back hanging with the same people you always know. So it's hard to keep them engaged, because it's so easy to do what you've always known, especially in a small town. You walk down the street, you're gonna see homeboy, right? And you don't have the connections and the accountability people with you to say no in those kind of moments. And so a lot of these people, I see them and then they don't come back because they don't have enough time to make connection when walking distance or in your neighborhood, in your community, you still have a dope man living there. But I'm just trying to be a hope dealer over here,
Yeah, I live at Palmer Lake. That's what's got my husband stuck for 8 years, because in a small town, if you're a tradesman, your best spot on Fridays at the bar. And I couldn't drag him out of there for 8.5 years, because it comes with a title like Norm from Cheers. And you cannot, Tiffany, my coworker, and I watched a gentleman really struggle. He struggled for years, we've watched, and it's a generational thing. His father was the same, and the day he got out of treatment, he wanted to be part of the community so bad, and they were having a birthday party for another person in town, and everybody was invited, and he just didn't want to miss it on the day he got out of treatment. And he walked in that place and he said to Tiffany and I, he said, hey, and I was like, why are you here? And he said, I knew it was the connection. He did not want to be without the connection. And within 20 minutes, he said, Racquel, he looked at me and said, I don't know how you do it. 20 minutes later, he had a drink in his hand. Because that connection, that home piece I speak of, is so very important, that the connection has to be the primary. See, most people think that success for recovery is recovery and sobriety. For peers, connection is the success. I have a mama who has had several setbacks. She's been with us for 3.5 years. We say success because I have not lost her. She stays connected. So it's not the number and the days of without and withdraw. It's about the connection, right? And you said that's the biggest thing for us is when we lose our people and we can't find them again. how important that is. What changes would you like to see in our workforce? And I'm asking this also because I get to go to SAMHSA in a couple weeks, so I'm going to be putting out a survey, by the way, for peers. Because I can't be the only voice for peers, and I've been invited to SAMHSA to speak for 2 days on the 23rd and 24th about this at the national level. And so I'm asking for, some insight, because I'd like to take your voices with me. I don't want to be the only one there. But what changes would you like to see?
Just the acceptance of peers. It is great that there are peers. There's only 236 certified peers in Colorado, or something like that. But what else? We have to be more widely accepted, or we're not going to get
funded. Yeah,
all
funded.
of that.
I'm gonna put
Funded. We'll
funded.
be funded everything. We
don't work for free.
Right. We just need to be. They need to recognize us as another person in a profession, and not just up here. Even though I'm not saying that's bad, but they need to recognize us.
I just want people to be open-minded and open-hearted to changes, because in recovery, it's a process of change every day. So a lot of people are stuck in their own old ways, old mindsets, and they don't like change. Nobody likes change, and in recovery, we learn to embrace change. So I just feel like I'm on the Wizard of Oz, on the trail to go see the almighty wizard. And I just want people to encourage people to get the courage, the brains, and the heart to get there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what it is.
For me, I think it's just acceptance also. As a peer, a lot of people, the community, a lot of them embrace you, but a lot of them still look at you like you're still that same person that, you were before. And so I guess acceptance, would be.
I like what you said right there, because when I first started, I was like, do I have to take my piercings out, or do I have to wear sleeves to cover my tattoos? And I don't have to today.
Well, you got me at the.
Yeah.
I'm not.
We could say here we're viewed as a certain way, but besides my tattoos and my piercings, I'm an amazing person, and we're usually judged by the way we look. Most people are judged. People get out of prison and everything's tatted, but we have a lot of potential, a lot of amazing things can come out of what we do.
For me, it's let's look at how we're going to sustain our workforce that we are building, because you have some of the most amazing freaking peers in the state of Colorado. I get to travel all over and meet everyone. And you have, literally with the AG, with the way the COAC's running and all peers, beauty is happening, right? But we got to keep this going because of what he spoke of. You want to traumatize a workforce, make us drop all our people. And then you get double the duty, because we can set back, you guys, right? And that's not a liability, it's not. But if we don't want to drop our people, so we need to think of how, my biggest fear is I have to let my people go, right? I don't want to let peers go. We have to make sure that they can work. We're pulling people off the streets. My coach, Jeremy, was unhoused in El Paso County for 3 years. He did 15 years straight time. You know what he said the other day, Racquel? This is the first time in my entire life I am not worried about how to pay my bills. He has never in his entire life had financial security of where his home would be and how his bills would be paid. That's the thriving recovery, and we need it, because then we buy homes and we pay taxes and we learn to vote, because we get smart when we get recovery. There's my point. All right, last question. What does your future look like today?
I can't predict the future, but I'm just trying to live today to the best of my ability. But man, I just want people to choose life with me. You know what I mean? What does that look like? I'm like, hey, I want to be able to bring more people onto this recovery boat to Serenity Island, and how can I reach you? when you're unreachable. When I was in active addiction, I didn't know about any of this stuff. I didn't know if I wanted recovery. I didn't know I had a disease. And how do we reach those people that are so sick, can't see any reality? We're stuck in a fantasy world when we're actively using. So how can we reach the people to provide hope, love, and courage to like keep moving forward? So I'm excited to continue moving forward with the organization that I move in and work with all of you guys just to keep, you know, for our common goal is a solution to find people to not be dying out there. We want people to live, and how do we do that?
Like her, I live for today. You know, that's all I got is this moment right here. So I just hope that we could just touch lives together and reach people that are wanting to live and have a future. Because I mean, the way things are right now, they're pretty bad, and we need each other to continue on fighting this. So.
All right, Chris, how's your future look?
Bright.
There we go.
I also do live for today, but I know that there's going to be a tomorrow for me. I guarantee myself that because I have to have a tomorrow. Then why am I living for today? You know, it doesn't make sense. So I want to live for tomorrow. My future is bright, and I don't want to just help people as a peer. I love it. However, I also want to further my education. Psychiatry with an emphasis on substance use disorders is what I want to do. And with the company that I am now, they will actually help pay for that school. Yes. And you know, I want to just continue to help. Find the need, find the person, help that person to the best of my abilities and as much as they want. And they'll be there. So I'm excited.
All right, let's give one more round of applause for our living experience. And you got 4 open books up here. And if you have any questions, I don't know if any of you tell me no. Remember, you can say no as peers. We can say no.
No is a complete sentence.
It is, and we're allowed to say that as a peer. We can say no, but if not, you don't have to, but we are willing to answer any questions you may have. Rhiannon.
Just remember there are 5 food trucks out there.
Yeah.
No, go
Afterward,
ahead.
yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, 5 food trucks, 15 minutes.
Okay, I'll make it quick. First of all, y'all are everything. Thanks for being here. I facilitate like 7 or 8 of the 19 regions, and the wisdom and expertise that you bring to those councils is uncomparable. What can we do to make you feel invited and comfortable and involved and not like a tokenized member of a council?
I appreciate that extra.
I do like statues though, especially if they're gold, so. Honestly, you're doing it. I have not felt, since I moved to Alamos and since I got connected with Lori, I have not felt excluded or like I wasn't listened to or like what I had to say wasn't being put to good use at the end of the day. For me, I feel great.
I just like being a part of, so as long as you're,
Keep calm.
including me in all the things that are going on, I just really like to be a part of what's going on. It helps me, because honestly, when we ask people, what do we need? A lot of the time, I don't know what I need.
Right.
And so this is all new to me. These are things that I'm learning and I'm growing to learn and understand this as a big picture, not just from where I come from. So sometimes I'm like, I don't know what I need, but being invited and educated and all the things that I'm going to is really helpful.
Commissioner Lasky, is there anything you want to share about that process of bringing people in? You don't have to, but I just want to recognize.
I was actually invited to an opioid summit meeting by Lori, and that's because she had talked about, where did we meet? I don't even remember where we we met. I was in ATC Concord for some time, and then I had gotten out. We had met at some other shindig, and she was talking to me about peer support work. At that time, I was working at a furniture store, and she talked to me, and it was exciting from the very moment. So I had gone to a couple of the Opioid Summit meetings, and peer support was brought up almost on an every time basis, and they wanted to hear what we had to say and listen. And then I switched over to a different company, but I am still working with Lori about peer work, which is exciting. It's really nice.
Lori has been a big inspiration to me and connected me with a lot of different people. And I'm doing the peer thing, and also she's connected me with Paul and Kim Reed. They're opening a recovery center in Alamosa. Hopefully in January it'll be open. So she's just connected me with a lot of people, a lot of positive people, and just trying to do positive things in the community. So
I'll say that you guys have done an amazing job, right? So here's the reality: is if it's an inclusive space and an equitable space, the outcome will be diverse. You don't have to worry about so much about the diversity, because that makes us check boxes, and it puts a price tag on our head. Because right now grants are funded on that, right? So if I'm a black woman, substance use disorder, I end up a checkbox and a line item on a grant, but I'm not ever invited to the table. I don't get to have any conversations. So it feels very diversity checkboxy, right? Checkbox. COAC, Racquel, even at the regional level for Douglas County, never felt that experience. And I do work in a lot of spaces, and there's some spaces I know very well that I'm a checkbox, because nobody asks me questions. I'm silenced and not allowed to speak. And here and with the COAC, I've never had that experience. So you guys do an amazing job of including peers. Amazing job of including peers.
I didn't hear about all this. I had a peer coach that worked for Advocates. I was a participant of Advocates for Recovery. So my peer coach lived in Grand Junction, and so I had an opportunity to apply for this job, and I wouldn't have known about any of you guys if it wasn't for being a peer at Advocates for Recovery. So they encouraged me to I have a fear of success, right? I still have fears in living in recovery, but she encouraged me. She's like, I do a lot of this work, and I just get paid for it. And I was like, I don't know. What if I get the job though? And I got the job. I'm like, oh shit. Here I am, So I'm grateful for you guys.
Any other questions?
Real quick, that was a little like me. I was actually a participant for CRP for about 1.5 years, and then they had actually come over to my home one evening and asked me to be a case manager instead of a participant. I told her that I would have to think about it for about a week. I couldn't wait that long. I called her the very next morning and told her yes. But that's how peers get hired.
It's true. I'm getting letters from inside
that's
Beacon
pretty much
Correctional.
how I got hired also. I was sitting at home. I hadn't even put an application. I wasn't even looking for a job. I was just sitting at home watching TV, and a lady that I know from Crossroads calls, and she's like, hey, we're hiring for a peer. You're like the perfect person for this job. Put your application and guaranteed you'll get the job. And I'm like, all right. I ain't got nothing better to do, so. So I did it, and I got the job.
Because you're seen and heard today.
Yeah, I'm getting letters since we went and visited the correctional facilities. I have letters coming in that are asking me if they can work for me. I'm getting out in 9 months. What are job opportunities? I'm like, well, you got your certifications. It's actually not a far off thing. And if you think about it from the inside, if they know that there's a possibility before they get out that they may get employment. Not only that, like even my husband and I, we decided to take our mechanical company and create vocational work so that we can pay men coming out of incarceration, because my husband has a felony background and he cannot get bonded because of what he did when he was 19 years old. But we can own the company, can't work for one, but we can own it and nobody asks us a question. So we reworked that, and now we are teaching men how to rework mechanical. We work on incubators and pay like actual wages so that we don't have to keep hustling on the side. You know, try to like make it like, and one gentleman came up to me in Beacon, he's like, Racquel, I get out in 8 months and I need a job and I do mechanical work. And I was like, you should call me. You know, and that, imagine what the next 8 months for that gentleman is like. Just imagine. They think, oh, might have a job and I can act, I just can't, it gives me goosebumps.
I think what I love about my job is that everyone that I work with is in recovery, and it's just very inspiring to see all the things that they've accomplished, and I was like, I want to get there. I want to do that. I want to vote for the first time. Like, this is different.
You hear that, elected folks? They're voting.
That's going to be a long 8 months waiting for a job, knowing that you have a job when you get out. It's a long 8 months of wait in jail.
But we got some inspiration behind it.
Yeah, inspirational but long.
Well, thanks everyone. Go eat some food.
Well, I just want to say,
food trucks, right?
I knew this panel was going to bring down the house, and you more than delivered. And so I just want to thank you all. Recognize Racquel Garcia. Colorado is so fortunate to have you here. Racquel is a SAMHSA technical expert, so she goes nationwide. She represents not just Colorado, but several states and gets calls about technical expertise, and we're so fortunate to have her wisdom and guidance as we're addressing this. And so we just can't thank you enough, Racquel. And amongst having 33 staff, I think she has, she's also a Colorado Opioid Abatement Council member and sits on our panel. And it's just so valuable to have her perspective and guidance as we're moving through this work. And we're looking forward, to having more of those voices. I heard this morning, Commissioner Hansen saying, hey, that's where all the fun is happening. I want to make sure we get more living experience at our table, not just because, like for many reasons, but it's more fun, it's more connection, and the ideas that are generated are better. Like I heard today, you say background checks. That's a barrier to getting into the police departments. I heard you saying that grant funding not being continued is going to be a huge barrier. Those are the things that elected officials and government folks need to hear, because that's the solution. So I just want to say we are so grateful for you all. It takes a lot of courage to come up here for anyone to speak, but to share your story. And I really hope this isn't the last time. So who else going to bring some folks to your council next time? Everyone, right? One last round of applause. I know we've done a lot. But it's worth it, and I thought that story of the Wizard of Oz, I'll bring that with me. Tonight, Valentina and Advocates for Recovery are hosting an all recovery meeting. They've graciously honored and donated that time and space. It's going to be in the central room, and so if you've never been to an all recovery meeting, I really recommend you check it out. It's about connection, right? And we all need connection. There's no us or them. It's all of us. We're all the same, right? And we all bring our gifts and our expertise, no matter where we come from or what we look like and how we get here. And so it's all of us together. So it's not us and them. It's all of us. So I invite all of us to be there at the all recovery meeting tonight. And I just want to say thank you to all the sponsors that are providing activities. We have yoga tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Woohoo! Yeah, it's going to be in the auditorium. Like I said, it's not live streamed or recorded, so it's behind the curtain. Yes. 8 a.m. Please come.
No downward dogs with your butt to the camera. No.
That's by Hard Beauty, and we're going to have a closeout by.
Don't worry.
Yes. Don't worry about that.
Trauma-informed yoga. You'll be okay.
Trauma-informed yoga. We're going to have a closeout by Commissioner Liz Smith, who has graciously donated the food trucks tonight and is sponsored to this event and this conversation. Thank you all for being here. We are going to have an amazing future because we have the right people at the table, and we have a lot more people to get here and to be at the table tomorrow. So let's kick it off.
Thanks, Jamie. Yes, I'm Commissioner Liz Smith from Gunnison County and also the chair of the Southwest Colorado Opioid Regional Council. And I cannot think of a better way to go off into dinner tonight with this feeling of connection, especially with the graciousness of our guests and these peers who just shared their stories. Stories connect people. They do, and they can change hearts and minds in a way that data cannot. And I just want to say for myself, and I'm sure for other people as well, this was a really incredible panel and a really important conversation to have. Racquel also said something that I think was really important, which is that she discussed opportunities for mutual transformation. And I think that that's why having this space in our statewide opioid abatement conference is so important, because it can transform the work that all of us are doing in our individual regions. And the only way that we're really going to have success combating opioids across the state of Colorado is creating those connections locally, community by community, region by region. So I'm not one to stand in the way of dinner. We are going to do a group photo, and Jamie, do you know if it's going to be inside or outside?
I think it's outside.
Okay, yeah, this is where you get your food tickets. And so everybody come out for the photo and let's go eat and connect. Thank you.